My husband, James, never wanted to do this, so I decided to seek it out and live this experience in detail. My friends always told me it was good, and I, silly, kept letting it go. Until one day, I embarked on this unusual and real story. Take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. I had a very good life with my husband. He worked in a bank and provided me with a queenly lifestyle. We went out at least 3 times a week. I never knew exactly how much he earned, but I believe it was around 8 or 9 salaries. We had our own house, a paid-off car, and he always made money from other businesses that I didn't understand very well. Our life as a couple was full of love and affection, but after years of marriage, he never asked to come in through the back door. That intrigued me, because my friends had already had this experience and whenever they could, they did it. One day, I tried to show my interest by making some gestures and pointing to the door, so that he would come to his senses and understand my language. James always thought my request was strange. I was definitely willing to try this experience and I really wanted to. Every day I woke up with this desire. I tried to do the same thing, taking his tool and going to the door, to see if he would continue, but he simply stopped and said he was tired and was going to sleep. Tired of the monotony that dominated my days, the endless afternoons when I was alone after cleaning the house and fulfilling all my obligations, I decided that I needed a break. I needed to go out, feel the world outside, talk to someone who would make me forget about that boring routine. That's when I invited some friends for a casual trip to the ice cream shop. But deep down, I knew that I wanted more than ice cream. I needed to get it off my chest, to share with them what I had been keeping to myself for a long time. I wanted my husband to do something for me. Something that hadn't happened for a long time. Sitting there, between laughter and confessions, I opened my heart. I spoke of the emptiness, the coldness, the lack of affection, the longing to feel desired. Until one of them, with a suggestive look and a voice full of mischief, said, "Why don't you try it on the outside?" Of course, taking all the necessary precautions. That sentence hung in the air. My heart raced. I swallowed hard. I had never considered this possibility in such a real way. I allowed myself to think. Would it be worth it? Was the risk too high? I took a deep breath and without saying anything, I just nodded, like someone who accepts a forbidden thought without having the courage to verbalize it. I got in my car and left, lost in reflection. I knew that it would never leave my mind. Every time I looked at James, I would remember that conversation. I had a stable, comfortable life. But at what price? Did happiness and stability need to be on opposite sides of the scale? Days passed and, as if by fate, I remembered Ryan. An old friend from high school, with whom I had exchanged glances that said more than words. Driven by impulse, I picked up my cell phone and sent a message. Almost instantly, the response arrived. "It's been a while. After you got married, you disappeared. I never saw you again, we didn't even talk. And look, you're still as beautiful as ever. I'm glad you remembered me, babe." Those words hit me like a warm hug. A compliment. Something so simple and yet so powerful, because I hadn't heard anything like that in years. The conversation flowed naturally, as if time had never passed. We talked about everything. About memories, about our days, our desires. Each word Ryan said got me more involved. In the end, I gathered up the courage and asked him to call me the next day. I wanted to see him. I needed to see him. Without hesitation, he agreed. He cancelled an appointment without batting an eyelid. We arranged to meet in Austin, a nearby city, where we wouldn't run the risk of being seen by acquaintances. Just to talk, I repeated to myself, trying to convince myself. When the day arrived, Ryan called me. He was already at a coffee shop waiting for me. I looked at my options: car or motorcycle. Since it was a hot day, I chose the car. I turned on the air conditioning, put on some light clothing, and left. Anxiety took over my body. I knew that this meeting could change everything. When I arrived, the reunion was even more intense than I had imagined. We sat down and talked. Ryan seemed to see beyond my words, reading every thought I was trying to hide. His hints started out subtle, but gradually became more profound. And without realizing it, I was being carried away by the game. With each sentence, my heart beat faster. I knew what was about to happen. I knew what was at stake. My privileges. My stability. Everything could fall apart. But there, at that moment, sitting in front of Ryan, I also knew that something inside me had already made the decision. And what happened next? Well, that part still needs to be told in great detail. When it was time to leave, as it was almost time for James, my husband, to get home, Ryan came closer to me, saying that he wanted to get to know me better and go out to another place. Overcome by desire and conversations with my friends, I decided to meet him the following week, at a place that had a mirror on the ceiling and decorated with colored LEDs. When the big day arrived, I prepared myself thoroughly. I had already decided that I would go all the way, and that was it. My friends wanted me to tell them about the experience, and I remembered every detail of the moment. When we got there, I couldn't contain myself and had to ask him to visit me at the back door. Ryan was so happy at that moment that he immediately took the tool out of his bag. I was astonished. I had never seen anything so impressive and large. With that tool, to give you an idea, I didn't want to stop using it, because it was effective and could easily open any hole, as long as someone requested Ryan's services. We started at around 5 p.m., and James, my husband, always arrived around 6 a.m. I didn't want to leave. Those lights on the ceiling, on the wall, alternating between different colors, the mirror on the ceiling, a beautiful and well-decorated bathroom. I was enchanted, knowing that I could talk loudly, because that place was wonderful. At 8 p.m., I was already tired. His tool was still firm and intact. My door was a little damaged and I felt like it would need repairs again. I picked up my phone and found 31 missed calls. On the way, I decided not to call and thought of a way to talk. But luckily for me, James had gone out, and I went to bed to sleep. The next day we talked, and I explained to him that I had gone out for a while to clear my head. I continued to see Ryan many times, having fun, and each time the experience was unique. When I was hungry, Ryan would make me some hot milk and give it to me. My happiness was unreal, because he always made more milk than my husband could make and left me feeling full. My door was definitely going to need repairs because of how intense the experiences were. A few months later, I wanted more, but I felt I needed to talk to my husband, James, about a breakup. James didn't understand what he had done that had led me to this decision so suddenly. I swallowed hard and said to him, "James, it's not what you did, it's what you didn't do." He didn't understand, and I didn't explain myself, because I couldn't say it the way I wanted. I stayed strong so that I wouldn't keep doing this while I was with James. I wanted to be honest with what my heart really wanted. I talked a lot with James, but I never told him the real reason. But I felt like he already knew. After 6 months, I was able to completely disconnect from James and live closer to Ryan. I feel free and excited with him. A great tool. After a woman requests a service, she may like it and have a regular repairman. Many people may not agree with this story, but I always told James that I wanted this before I got married, but I was silly to think he would change. If you like this type of content, I need you to help me by subscribing, liking and commenting on what you thought of this story.